All right, so let's get into some synth-based mixing. Take a look at the Polysix here. As I had mentioned, it is a popular plugin with synthwave producers. And the first thing I like to do is set it in an enclosure to be able to manipulate the, yes, you've guessed it, the ADSR. So a few controls I'm really concerned with are the attack, decay, sustain, release, and of course the cutoff filter. So I'm going to go ahead and map these to Ableton's macro control, the attack, the decay, the sustain, release, as well as the cutoff. I'll make the link right here. DSR. And I will assign random colors to them. Now the first thing I want to tweak here is the release. I don't want the release to be that long, so I will shorten this to, let's say, about 31. Our attack can remain where it is. Our decay can stay about, let's say, 40. Sustain can remain at 0, and the cutoff can remain exactly where it is right now at 36. And remember, we want all of our notes to remain at a velocity of 127. So before we get started, it's always a good idea to get an understanding for the sound we want to achieve. With this processing here we are about to do for our fat bassline patch, I want it to be smooth, so I want the top end to be sort of controlled. I want the dynamics to be controlled, so we're going to have to pull in some compressors. And I definitely want to take care of the lower mids, as a lot of frequencies tend to build up in this area. Okay, so let's get started with some basic EQing here. I'm just going to put our bass track in solo here. So I'm going to do some cutting here, and I don't think I need anything below, let's say, 43 Hertz. Okay, keep my Q at 0.67. Bring in another node. This muddy area, 132. I'm just going to dip out as much as 12 dB, so don't be shy here. You can really carve out a big portion of that signal here. And this is what we're essentially getting rid of. This muddiness right here. All right, let's keep going. Node number 3. This boxiness, gotta get rid of this. 235. Lower this to about close to -2 dBs. And let's alter our Q to 1.14. I'm going to set this to a bell curve here, and I kind of like this sound in the 2K area. Bring in some of those high frequencies or higher mids here. I'm going to leave it about there. Just a light little bump here. Okay. So we're boosting a little of the higher mids here. Let's keep hunting. Okay, around 4K, I think we can dip out these higher frequencies here. So I'm cutting about 5 dBs here at roughly 4.5K. Okay, so let's A/B this. Very muddy. A little more controlled. All right, so let's keep going. Next, I'd like to pull in a SSL EQ on the behalf of waves. Let's go ahead and do that. Choose the stereo version, since our plugin is pushing out a stereo sound. I'm going to cut some of these lower frequencies here. Now I really like this plugin because it allows you to sort of focus on one region at a time, and all you have to do is really use your ears and you can hear what's happening. Now if I drive it up, obviously we're cutting a little too much of the bass. That's way too much. So I'm going to lower this to about, let's say, 43 hertz. Let's go hunting for some mud here. You can hear this. So this is around the 500 hertz, another boxy area. So I'm just going to do some cutting here. Lower this by about 5 dBs. And I am going to slightly adjust my Q here. Okay, I'm also hearing some higher stuff going on here. Smoothing up that top end. Reduce my Q value. A little more precise. This is a broader stroke versus a narrower stroke. Okay, so let's A/B these guys here. Big difference. All right, let's bump up the gain here because we are losing some volume. All right, let's keep it moving. Now, before committing to my sound, I like to bring in a few different EQs. With that being said, I'm going to bring in Manny M's EQ here. And again, I'm going to smoothen up that top end here. This stuff around 3K. We need to cut this out. Want that warmth. I'm going to set this to a shelving EQ and just dial down on that top end here. I don't think I want that stabbiness at the top. 15K. We can reduce this. All right, so let's A/B this. I like it. Let's keep going. Now, because our three EQs have been doing quite a bit of cutting, I sort of want to gel the sound together or glue it together once again. So for that, I am going to bring in the glue. I'm going to set my attack really fast here. My ratio will be 2, and the release, well, we'll have to pay attention to what's going on. So I'm going to lower the threshold. And I won't be afraid to have a lot of gain reduction here. Okay, let's make this up. So what's happening with our compressor here? Well, it's adding quite a bit of sustain, and it's also bringing out that top end, that sort of ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta, which I think could be a nice driving factor with this song. You really hear that 1K or 2K area popping through when it's on. Love, love, love it. Now that we've added some compression to our sound and we're dealing with the dynamics, I want to add some smearing to the sound. And I'm going to do that with the chorus. This is a little much. A little too stereo. So I'm gonna dial this back at about 21%. Set the cutoff to about, let's say, 100. I want everything below that to be sort of mono, and we're gonna monofy this later on in the mix. There we go, that's a little too much. Subtle. Okay, so let's A-B this. Kind of plain. You can hear the harmonics though, and with it on, a little more controlled. All right, so let's keep going. Now, even though we've done some cutting in the higher frequency area, I still want to warm up the sound even further. And for this, I'm going to use the J37 saturation plugin by Waves. So let's go ahead and pull this up, use the stereo version, and let's add some drive to our signal. Pay attention to those transients. What we're doing here is kind of clipping them off. You can hear them distorting. We're adding some color to the sound. Nice. Now let's play this in context. So you can hear that when it's off, you can hear that it's sort of like very stabby, not together, very punchy. And yet when it's on, you can hear that the dynamics are controlled. So this plugin is actually adding quite a bit of compression to the sound. I'll play it again. You can see our reading here. We're coming in at -13, -12. When it's off, and when it's on, we're saving quite a bit of headroom here. All right, so let's keep going. So I'm not entirely satisfied with the sound yet. I think we need to add some attitude here, some grit to the sound, and for that I'm going to refer to the amp plugin by Ableton. Very simple. Let's set it to the blues algorithm. I'm going to lower the volume here and make sure that we are outputting in stereo. First, let's deal with the dry wet. I don't want to blow your ears out. There we go. Totally different sound here. So we're using these tools as a sound design tool, if you will. Now there's too much presence. I don't want all that bite at the top of the frequency spectrum. So I'm going to reduce my presence to about 1.67. The treble can stay where it is. Let's reduce our middle. And we can reduce our bass. Let's play this in context. All right, still needs some work. We're not quite there. I'm hearing a lot of side information here. So what I want to do is bring in an EQ8, set it to mid-side mode, And as for the middle channel here, we'll leave it as is, but the side information, we can lower or reduce some of those lower frequencies that are building up to the side of our channel. Way too much. Let's scale that back. So what I'm doing here is removing some of the side information. I don't think we need anything beyond or below the 70 Hertz mark. So everything below that is basically being cut out because it was a bit too wide, and we want to keep those lower frequencies below 100 Hertz in mono. I still want to bring in another EQ. I'm not entirely satisfied with the sound. So let's go hunting for some more frequencies here. Okay, that's fine. And I think I want to cut out some 52 Hertz by maybe a dB. We can notch this out a little. Now we can hear our top end a little more because we're cutting out some of this mud. Let's go hunting in the 220 region. Scoop this out, a few dBs. Let's see, one last node. Gotta tame this harshness. Yeah, right there. We can cut this out a few dBs. Let's say 3.5 dBs at around 3K. I'm gonna slide this over here and AB. Okay, getting rid of that harmonic, that right here. All right, let's keep going. I also want to give this a bit of a roll off at the top. I don't think we need all of these higher frequencies here, as we are going to layer this bass later on with another bass, or mid-range bass, if you will. All right, let's go ahead and add some sidechain compression. I want this pumping to the rhythm of our song, so I'm going to use the LFO tool. And there we go. Now that click you hear, we can get rid of that by adjusting the smooth to 1. It's a bit extreme, so let's play this in context. It's already vibing. Maybe a little much, a little too much. We're getting there. I'm going to slide my LFO here right after my EQ. One thing I'm concerned with, however, is the lower frequency information. I want this to be pure mono. So I'm going to slide the utility right after the LFO here, engage the bass mono option here, and make sure that everything below 106 Hertz is in mono. Now, one of the things I like to put at the end of my basses are limiters. So for this, I'm going to use FabFilter Pro L right here. Slide it in my rack. And I am going to make some adjustments here. So I want to truncate some of those transients. Just going to lower the volume, do some volume matching as I go along. So I'm taking about 4 or 5 dBs here. Lower the output level. Good, so we're volume matched here. I'm gonna reduce the attack, make it chomp down on the signal a little earlier. Increase the release. So we are saving some headroom just by having our limiter chomped down. It's also giving us that sort of brick wall sound, which is the sound I think is ideal for this particular style of synthwave. Now let's hear our before and after. All right, much better. I think our bass is much fuller, warmer, and it sort of complements what's going on with the kick drum. Now, there seems to be an issue with the kick drum. It's either too loud or perhaps there's just a buildup of frequencies. And I'm hearing some stuff going on at about the 200 hertz. And so what I want to do here is bring in real quickly my favorite EQ. You guessed it, the API. Let's go for the 550B in mono here. And let's play our bass and our kick at the same time. Yeah, this stuff, that chesty sound, that tuk, 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 we're gonna cut this out. There, much better. Before and after. So by pulling out some frequencies here at the 180 hertz mark, we're actually saving ourselves some headroom here, as you can see. So we're at -12 when the plugin is off, and we are at the -15. So we're cutting out quite a bit of that low-mid frequency range. All right, so let's play this one last time. We're getting somewhere. All right, so as a quick recap here, we've cut out quite a bit of mud in our sound, and we've also tamed a lot of those higher frequencies. We've addressed our dynamics problem with our compressor, we've smeared it with the chorus, and we've added some warmth with the saturators or tape emulators, if you will. We've also given it an attitude adjustment with Ableton's Amp plugin. We've also made sure that we don't have too much side information, especially in the lower frequency range with our mid-side processing here. And we've added some sidechain compression with finally the limiter at the very end, just to sort of truncate some of the peaks. I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.